Everyone doing? So, Strength Chat episode 32. I think I've got that one right. And today I am joined by two very special guests. I am joined by Tom Hill and John Cunningham of Steel Habitat. How are you both doing?
Good, thanks. Very well, mate.
What have you been up to since the last time we spoke?
More high volume.
Test week for the gym. So that's been good on it.
Through to test week. Well, when did we do our podcast? It was only about a month or so, was it ago?
Yeah.
So we've had test week.
Probably just over a month ago. Yeah.
Started a new program with everyone in the gym. Been on a new cycle, and played some good dodgeball on the weekend. Yes. So that was all right.
Yeah, I saw some of the videos of that. Tom looked a little bit too happy throwing the ball at that guy.
Is it Bob?
So obviously, I came over and chatted to you guys over on your video blog on your podcast. For anyone who missed that, and to anyone who's listening who don't know who you are, can you both give a little bit of a background to yourselves and a little bit about what Steel Habitat is all about?
I'll let you go first. Okay.
So I, like John says, I'm newest here. Know yourself from university. Obviously done that sports science, then gone on to a master's strength and conditioning. Bit of PT, working in sport, then joined the guys at Steel, and I've been here about 4 or 5 months now.
Got quick, eh?
Yeah, feels like longer, but good. Enjoying it. So that's my background. Well done, John.
I thought you were going to say what does Steel Habitat mean to you.
No,
you can say it like that if you want. It's up to you.
But yeah, my background. So obviously grew up in Liverpool, played rugby all my life, and then realised quite early on in my rugby career that I'd rather train than play rugby. So I was like going to games like, I hope I don't come out here injured because I want to lift weights on Monday. So got really into the gym, that side of things, but was like super interested in like scientific background. That led me to, while still playing rugby, went to university, went to Loughborough, did my degree in sports science at Loughborough University. Actually quit university halfway through to play rugby in New Zealand. Hurt myself, came back, got surgery. Then pleaded to the university, can I come back for third year, finished third year, did all that sort of stuff. I kind of like fell into Steel Habitat. So the owner was in the same college as me. Started a gym just as I was finishing my degree. And all the time he was like, come be a member. I was like, I don't know about that, mate. It's only got one squat rack in, and like it's tiny. Ended up taking the plunge. Went to the gym, and about a couple of months into it, I think it was about 4 or 5 months into it, he actually got ill and asked me to cover some sessions coaching. And at this point, I was still looking for a job, like post-university, and just covered some coaching sessions, did more and more and more. And then it was just me and the owner for a good while now. And that was about four and a bit years ago now. So from there, got my strength and conditioning accreditation, the American version, not the UK version, CSCS, and just done that ever since, and grew. And now we've got 2 gyms, a team of 7.
Yeah.
A team of 7. And yeah, that's it really. So hopefully opening more gyms along the way.
Turned into a little bit of a beast then, the unstoppable force that is Steel Habitat. So when I came over last time, we chatted a little bit about strength training, and most of the things that we chatted about we were both sort of in agreement with, or we had the same sort of philosophies. We won't talk about the high volume stuff again. In terms of sort of programming, so obviously the results that you get with your clients that you train, what are the go-to or what are the fundamental things that should be involved in a program? Because there's a lot of things at the minute where people will come in and they'll just smash biceps for 45 minutes. As much as that is an absolute must,
that's what we do.
There are some things that are sort of fundamental and core exercises. So what, in terms of programming, are your go-to and what should be included in programs?
Take that one first?
Yeah, well, I think all of our programs is designed around sort of making sure we're hitting a hip, a knee, a pull and a push in basically every session, and then accessories around that to complement it. So mixture of core at the minute, quite a lot of core in the programs, and then other bits on top of that. So then maybe like hyperextensions, triceps, shoulder work, upper back work and stuff like that. So they're definitely our staples, if you'd agree.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like our programming, I think is really easy and really simple. It's just we just go compound lifts and progressive overloads for the majority of people, because the majority of our lifters are general members of the public. I mean, we've got some real strong boys and girls in the gym, and they're more maybe on some slight advanced programming. But for the majority of our members, it's just super simple. We teach them how to progressive overload, so they're gradually lifting more weight over time, increasing their volume. But then sticking to the basics, like Tom said, hit, knee, push, pull every session, but like compound movements. A good session could be like bench, bent over, Bulgarian squat, RDL, something like that. So sticking really to the basics, because like you said earlier, Steve, the fluff sometimes gets involved and people end up bicep curling for like 45 minutes, and then 6 months later wonder why they haven't made a difference to their body. But it's just, unfortunately, I preach boring stuff. Like, just stay boring, progressive overload for the majority of the time, and stick to basics, really. And that's what we try and do in every single program we run here.
Yeah, I think sometimes with people don't like the simple stuff. It's the boring stuff that sort of gets it done. I mean, because sometimes you look at some programs and it's like, right, I'm going to do this workout and there's 45 exercises in this workout. How many, do you have a preference on how many exercises are in a program? They're doing like a push and a pull, or is it just sort of dependent on what day or what type of training they're doing?
I think massively depends, really. So to give you a little bit more background about the gym, we actually run multiple different programs at the same time. So to answer that question, for example, our Superman program is more of a male bodybuilding style program. Now that has a lot more exercise in. I think right now we're on a push, pull, lower program for that one, and that has about 6 or 7 exercises in per session, while our century programs are more basic strength program, which covers whole body. So that will be a hip, knee, push, pull with some accessory at the end. So maybe that's like 5 exercises max or something in that program. So it massively depends. I think the amount of exercising depends what program you are, and depends how well trained you are as well. I mean, if you want to do, say, upper push, upper pull, and lower throughout the week, I think you've got to have a little more volume in those sessions, because you're not hitting the same muscle group for another 6 days, almost 7 days. While if you're strength training and your volume is fairly low, you can kind of repeat that, so you can squat like 3 times a week or bench 3 times a week. That's absolutely fine. It just depends on the volume and how well trained you are.
Yeah, I think that's the key there. The level of the lifter will depend on sort of how much volume you need anyway. So obviously as you get more advanced, you're going to need more volume to then increase your muscle mass and obviously get the results, get stronger.
The thing about that is no one believes you either. It's all the fancy stuff. It's like, people come to us and be like, oh, I saw these special exercises. Or I saw the Rock's workout on Instagram. I'm going to copy it. And we're looking exactly like that.
When you said about the lifter getting a little bit more advanced, would you ever throw in a little bit more or advanced training methods, if you like? For example, I've got at the minute cluster sets. I've gone from just normal sets to clusters, which are grim, but there's a reasoning behind it, so I get that little bit of a rest, and I can lift heavier for more reps. Whereas if I was to jump straight in and do 4 reps at the weight that he's programming, I just wouldn't be able to get it. Having that little bit of a rest and reset, I can get my breath back a little bit. Would you ever program those advanced things, or would you still stick to, right, we're just going to keep going with the progressive overload and sticking with the similar reps, decreasing reps, or anything like that?
I think if the person becomes more advanced and you've got to mix something up, I think it is something definitely worthwhile. It just depends on their training goals. And like you say, the more advanced lifters in this gym are your power lifters that we've got competing. So then their program is generally handled by Martin, and he puts a mixture of different things in there. So I think there is a bit of band stuff in there, and then some like drop back sets, stuff like that. So do mix it up, but it needs to be for the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, progressive overload only works so far in your lifting career. I think there's only a certain amount of time before you have to like rethink and be like, right, what other strategies can I do to get stronger? You can't just always walk into the gym every week and put some more weight in the bar, and eventually it will just stop doing that. Yeah. But I do think saying that stage is a lot further along than people would think. I think everyone can do a little bit more simple along the way before they start switching things up and maybe adding percentages in and all that sort of stuff. I do think that it comes to a point where you do have to switch to that, especially when you're getting super strong against like that, maybe like 3 times body weight deadlift and that sort of number. Then you've got to rethink and be like, right, I can't just add weight to the bar every single week. What other strategies can I do to make myself stronger? Because, for example, someone who's more advanced there could have probably need deadlift heavy once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks, if that, if you're super, super strong. It depends how big you are as an athlete. So I do think it comes to a stage where you have to add in those like more advanced techniques. And some of the big powerlifters here are approaching that sort of area where they are trying new techniques, not just progressive overload. But I say, especially if you're in the early stages or you're wanting to compete at some point, just try and squeeze out as much progressive overload as possible until the point where you're like, you know what, I'm not actually improving. Let's try something different.
As coaches, what you've said about there, when you get to a certain level and changing the style of training that you're doing, the powerlifting club I run and guys that maybe aren't doing powerlifting but just generally want to get stronger, when they first start training after not training for a while, they'll see massive increases in the weight on the bar. They'll see massive increases in their muscle mass, and they'll walk into the next session and say, I think I can do some more crazy stuff. It's like, well, really, you've only been training for 3 months. We've still got a little bit more to work on. As coaches, how do you sort of rein them in a little bit and sort of educate them a little bit in, look, you're gonna see quick gains first. Let's stick with this for a little bit, stick with the process. We've got plenty of time for the other stuff.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that comes down to expectation management. So when you first get a client involved or a member or an athlete or anything like that, and you're right, if they never lift weights before, they start lifting weights, their progression is phenomenal. You could basically do bicep curls and get better at squatting. It's awesome. But then a lot of the time people do get ahead of themselves. But then it's your job as a coach to rein it back in or set the expectation. Like when you first sit down with them, yes, you are going to really improve in the next 3-6 months. But let's stick to the process, because in 3 years, we want to get you on that platform on the British Championships or something like that. So it's just trying to set that expectation about what will happen along the way, because I think if you don't set an expectation, it's kind of left to the unknown. So they're getting all these gains at first. Sometimes they may even think they're now an advanced lifter after 3 months because they're improving so rapidly. But then if you set that expectation, this will happen, this is the game plan, and then you get their buy-in, I think it's a lot easier to rein them back in. But if you don't set that expectation or that game plan as a coach, then it's kind of hard to rein them back in after a little bit. I think they get too far away.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that we see in terms of that, people that are on our lean program, so our basic fat loss program, you start losing some body fat, getting stronger, they switch to Sentry, and then they start sort of almost getting ahead of the game a bit and thinking, oh yeah, I can smash a load of weights here, I just need to keep doing this. And whereas in reality, if they just keep doing that for a while, they will get stronger quite quickly. They almost sort of get carried away with it because they've gone from maybe doing 12 reps at high volume, loads of conditioning in it, so then just doing 6 sets of 6. So you're going to lift heavier because you're just doing the 6 sets of 6.
Yeah. Add on to that as well. It's funny when you see that, because we test here at the gym in all our programs every 2 months. So our cycles are 8 weeks long. Everyone does a 3 rep max test in the big 3. And at first, when they do the testing, they're like, oh, I put on like 15 kilos on my deadlift in 8 weeks and like 10 kilos on my bench. And then they remember for like 6 months, 8 months a year, then they're like, oh, I've only added 2.5 kilos onto my bench press. And I'm like, oh, wait till you've lifted like for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I'd do anything for 2.5 on my bench press. But again, getting that expectation that it will slow up. We see it quite a lot, and people will be like, oh, I've only improved by 10 kilos this last 8 weeks. I'm like, that's a hell of an improvement. If you did that every 8 weeks for 3 years, you'd be Eddie Hall.
Yeah, hopefully. So with that, obviously, managing expectations, what do you think of, because at the minute, there's quite a lot of programs out on the internet, just sort of like, I think at one point everyone was saying, oh, cookie cutter programs. How much do you think that influences people just saying, yeah, I'll try this program? And how much do you think that makes it more important to actually have a coach or have someone there in the gym that you can go to point you in the right
direction? I think it is important. There are, obviously, you're going to get loads of programs out on the internet, and some of them are really good. But the main thing is, a program's only as good as sort of you, if you stick to it and you believe in what it's going to do. Otherwise, it's not really worthwhile. So that's when you're better off. You see people chopping and changing programs, they don't get those results, and then they get annoyed and frustrated with the gym. And it's like, well, you've not stuck to anything consistently. You've not actually done what the programs maybe wanted you to do. And so you don't see the progress. Whereas I think because there are so many programs online and nobody really explaining that side of things, the consistency, the fact you've got to try and increase the weights over time, that's what, again, it comes down to managing expectations again, and sort of having somebody there to then explain that to you and how it's going to look, how it's going to work over the long run.
Yeah, it's that quick fix mentality. When people, like you said, Tom, dive into a program and don't see changes after 2 weeks, they're like, oh, I'm going to try a different program and a different program. And they just go around in circles, hopping for programs, because exactly what you said, no one set the expectation. No one knows that if I'm consistent on this, I'll improve in 8 weeks' time, 9 weeks' time. Everyone's looking for that. How can I improve in 2 weeks? And that just leads to people jumping on different programs, not making any changes. Like you said, getting frustrated with the gym. I think that's where people are turning towards more coaches now. I think slowly, very slowly, people are getting it like, oh, I might need a coach to explain this way.
Yeah.
Because you can type in the internet strength program and hundreds of strength programs come up. So how do you know?
Good ones,
some really good ones, like some outstanding ones, but that because they're outstanding on paper doesn't mean they'll fit you at your time and the experience you're at. But having that coach who knows you quite well, who can maybe just write a program for you, specifically for you, is far more advantageous than just typing strength program on the internet and just picking one and hoping for the best. Because I know a lot of people, it's just numbers on a paper. But people think they have to stick to those numbers on a paper. Like when lifestyle comes in, if you're super tired and it's 5x5, like 85, 90%, something ridiculous. Like, oh, I'm just going to do that. And they kill themselves, really. So it's just that explaining the program, but I think people are shifting towards, right, I might need a coach.
Yeah, even if it's not an actual PT, just having someone in the gym, and I think that's where it comes from. Actual coaches being able to speak to people rather than just saying, looking at the standardized thing and just like, just do that, just follow the program, stick with it. Sometimes it needs a little bit more of look, like you say, looking at the individual and what is gonna work there. One thing that I was quite interested at chatting to you. So I saw a post by Mike Boyle, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and when you mentioned there about people after 2 weeks, I want to give this a go, I want to give that a go. I'm a little bit like that person. After a competition, I'm like, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do it all. And what Mike Boyle was saying was the minimum effective dose. So trying to give people a little bit of everything in their program, but the really small amount. For those people that come in and be like, after 2 weeks, they've been doing a powerlifting program, then all of a sudden they watch World's Strongest Man over Christmas and go, I want to do that. What are your thoughts on adding in a little bit of something different into the program? The minimum effective dose.
That's good. I think it depends who you're coaching, really. So, for example, we coach general members of the public here, and I think to a certain point, you've got to satisfy their needs. So, obviously, if they're paying for your service in terms of a gym and coaching, yes, you put the most important stuff that you know the most important stuff first, like your compound lifts, your good nutrition, the stuff that's going to make a huge difference. But it's a great time. Say if you're personal trainer and you're the coach, it's a great time to be like, oh yeah, we'll try this strongman medley because you've seen it on TV. You know it's going to be some good conditioning at the end, but you've also known you've done your squats, your deadlifts, you've got your nutrition right. So that's the main difference. But sort of cadence their needs, because at the end of the day, you've definitely got to enjoy your training. Because if you're not enjoying training, you're not going to stick to it. You're not going to adhere to it, and then you're going to program hop. But especially if the coach is quite open-minded, because I know a lot of coaches might be like, oh, we're not doing that, that's ridiculous. But then that leads the member or the client a bit like, oh, well, they're not listening to me, and I don't get to do the stuff that's cool on TV. But if they come in and be like, oh, I saw this like sledgehammer, like smashing a tire, let's try that. It'd be like, sweet, we'll do that at the end. As you finish it, we'll get our squats and deadlifts done first, and then we'll have a good old go at that. Because they'll enjoy it, they'll stick to it, and then they'll think you're a cool coach for actually listening to them. So I do think there's a point where, yes, get the important stuff out of the way, but then adapt it, make it fun, make it so they're going to pick it. Saying that, if they're a superstar athlete who is going to like go to the IPF World Championships and stuff like that, and they're still quite naive in training, and 2 weeks out they're like, oh, I want to try this strongman. Got to rein them back in and be like, we're not doing that. Like, it depends. That's not happening.
I think, as you touched on there, John, like when it comes to the people that we're dealing with, if you get the stuff you need to get done out early doors, like we've even got the sort of space within the program to sort of add that variety into our, like the conditioning, the finishes and stuff, because at the end of the day, it's general population, low level training. So if they're doing something, it's going to work really. I know that's because it is just a finisher or it is just the conditioning. You've already done your most important exercises. So like you can let them have a bit of fun, do some different exercises, do something a bit different for them, and just give them that a bit of free rein. But obviously, as you say there, if you've got somebody lining up for a comp, you don't want them going and maxing
doing like axle cleaning press.
I thought that was quite it would have been quite a good topic, because when people are listening and when like yourself saying about, you keep get the simple stuff done and the simple stuff that works, it doesn't always have to be dead boring, like adding in something else to your training. There's a guy I train, and honest, I've never known a person when I mentioned the bicep curls, I've never known a guy that loves biceps or training arms as much as he does. But I'm like, right, get this done, and I promise you, I'll give you the best arm exercises that you can do. I gave him one where it was just like, right, start on the lowest weight and just keep doing 8 reps so you can't do any reps on the he absolutely loved it. And it's like, right, whatever keeps you coming back to the gym and training, that's fine. Annoyingly, I think he actually curled heavier dumbbells than what I can, so I'll have to start adding them back into my program. So moving on to sort of what's actually involved in a session. A good topic at the minute is a lot of people will come in and I'll have maybe 3 back-to-back sessions, and there's one person in the gym training by themselves, and they'll be in the gym for 3 hours, and it's like, what are you doing? Or on the other hand, there'll be people that come in every single day and they'll push to go every single day. What are your thoughts and opinions on sort of quality versus quantity, the amount of times that people are coming in the gym and how long their sessions
are? I think obviously the sort of length of your training again sort of varies. You don't really want to be training much more than an hour and 15 maybe tops for like extras and stuff. You want to get the majority of your work done within that first hour in terms of sort of the hormones and how they respond to training. So it's not really worth it. In terms of the amount of times a week. I think there's no reason why you couldn't do something every day of the week. It's just, again, being smart with it. I know both myself and John use sort of higher and lower days. So then you're training sort of 6x6 hard on like a Monday. Tuesday then be maybe more of a pump. You go in for like 12 to 15 reps, still working all the same muscles, but just lower reps, lower weights. Obviously, it'll help with recovery as well. But yeah, I think so. The length of training has got to be sort of, like I say, no more than hour and a half tops for like extras and stuff. But yeah, what are your thoughts, John?
Yeah, my main concern was stuff like that, because I see it quite a bit, with people, especially when they're new to exercise, dive in and train 100% every day, 2 hours. My main concern is burnout, because as we know as coaches, the more consistent you are, the longer you're training for, like after years and years, you'll see a big difference. But there's those people sometimes who dive into training, give it 100% for like 3 weeks, not make any difference, because there won't be massive differences really in 3 weeks. And then be like, oh, it's not for me, I trained really hard and I didn't get anywhere. So it's just finding that positive balance where you can keep that up. Like if you can keep up training 5 days a week for the rest of your life, train 5 days a week for the rest of your life. It doesn't mean, squat heavy 5 days a week and deadlift heavy 5 days a week. Just swap it up, like be active. Maybe one session's a stretching session, maybe one's high volume, one's low volume. Just mix it up. But that's when that knowledge comes into it. Maybe that coach comes into it as well. But if you can stay active every single day, I think that's just being part of what a good human is about. Yeah. Just be active. Use your body to the best of ability. Don't just sit in a chair and really stuff dominoes all day. If you can be active, be active. Now, in terms of training time, called quantity over quality, I say always quality is number one. You want to train really well. You want to train to a high standard. But for the majority of general members of the public, people can train more than they think as well. When people say, oh, I'm tired, I'm sore, I don't want to train. Once you get that blood moving again, you're pumped and ready to go, and you'll get some good quality work done. But it's that first little mind or roadblock in your mind that will stop you from doing that. But I am well for people training more than they think they can, because I think the majority of people stop too early. If you get what I mean. A little bit sore, so I'll take it easier today. I think humans can be active every single day, and it just depends on what you want to do that day, and you've got to take your lifestyle into account to do what you do, really.
You also build some sort of, you'll get used to it. So if you start training 3 times a week, and you add an extra session, and you're going to feel sore, you're going to feel tired for the first couple of weeks maybe, but your body will then adapt to it and you'll get used to training it. It's just about, like John says, training smarter rather than necessarily going 100% all the time, especially when you're first starting.
Yeah, body and mind as well. Like your body will get used to it, but your mind will get used to it as well. Because if you're soft in the mind, you're like, oh, I'm going to train twice this week because I'm sore and tired. But like things are meant to be hard, and if it's hard, you'll adapt and you'll get better.
You've got insight into both your coaching then, like, stop being soft, come on, get it done.
Yeah, I mean, we're a little bit lenient sometimes. Obviously, it depends who the person is, how well you know them. If some people come to you and be like, I am sore, and then they come to you, you know they're sore. But some other people come to you and be like, I'm sore, I don't want to do this. You're like, you know what, strap your big boy pants on, we're going to crack on here. So it massively depends, and that's where your coaching skill comes into it. But like I said, things are meant to be tough. So if you can train hard, that's awesome, but obviously be very, very small with that. That doesn't mean squatting to your max every single day. Yeah. Although that is a good
What would you recommend because for the small group training that we do, we recommend the three training sessions. You gotta get 3 main training sessions a week. And then on top of that, they can do a class or something like that. Then I'll say, right, on the days that you might not train in, come in and do a little bit of active recovery. You mentioned it a little bit there as well. People don't always understand that. They just think active recovery is chilling out on the sofa and scratching their ass every now and again. What is your definition of active recovery? What do you recommend to get that blood flowing around a little bit and not be just dead sore all the time?
So in terms of active recovery, I'd probably say anything that's going to not use too much eccentric stuff. So sleds, stuff like that. Again, you're not smashing a load of weight on there. It's just maybe just getting your heart rate up, getting moving again. So sleds are pretty good for that. Also, just stretching, almost doing a warm up again. Say doing something like that, following sort of your basic dynamic movements or body weight stuff. That'll loosen up everything. Go through a bit of mobility. Maybe some, I don't know, go through some like band pull apart, stuff like that, upper back stuff, any just little extras, maybe a bit of core if you want to touch up on that. To be fair, got nothing wrong with sort of either getting like a pump on or whatever, so arms, or do something fun that you enjoy again, to enjoy it. And yeah, foam rolling maybe if you fancy that, sort of doing something that you enjoy.
From your response there, again, it's quite a simple answer. Thing again, chatting to people, oh well, what do I do? Do I, active recovery? What does that mean? Like, well, doesn't have to be. Nothing has to be really, really complicated. It's just, do a little bit of light stuff on the days you're not training. You don't have to, like we mentioned before, go and absolutely falls out on everything. Sometimes it's good to just chill out a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think you can do a bit more than you think. Like you said, Steve, a lot of people think it's just sitting down doing nothing, active recovery. But like Tom said, you can pretty much do whatever you want, as long as it refreshes body and mind, really. So, for example, I like to do something completely different for my sort of like active recovery. So, like Tom said earlier, train hard Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. But Wednesday, if I don't do anything, I'm going to be stiff for Thursday. So like yesterday, I actually went to Pure Gym, put the headphones in, and pumped every machine I could find. So I was like, right, I'm just going to be half an hour in here. I'm going to start with my calves and work my way up my body. I'm going to do a medium weight on everything and just do 50 reps as fast as I can on every single machine. By the end of it, I was dripping with sweat, not sore, haven't lifted heavy weights, and then definitely haven't had a barbell on my back, so I feel a bit more refreshed, and it was a bit more fun as well. But like you said, it's all like, sometimes it's just like, right, I'm going to pull the prowler for about 15-20 minutes and maybe do some stretches. So I like the idea of, if you do an active recovery, do something completely different that is not your normal training. Because, so for example, if you're an Olympic lifter and you're doing snatches and clean jerks every day, and then your off day, you want to do some active recovery, so you do snatches and clean and jerk movements lighter, then by the time you come to the next day, you're like, oh, well, I haven't really had a break here, I haven't really refreshed my mind. Buddy, go and do whatever you want, really. Just be active.
I've just got an image now of just an influx of loads of emails to me saying, I did those 50 reps on those machines that John mentioned. It's amazing. It's a new training program.
Oh yeah, then we thought like the pump's good, but you will not get stronger. Like it's just completely superficial.
So to round off then, what is, obviously we mentioned quite a lot of topics there about, here's a little bit of a mindset. Sometimes you've got to get the work done. You can do more than what you think. Trimming down the fluff that's sort of in the program and getting the basics done first, and there is time to come at the end. Anyone listening, what are your top tips, or what do you want to take home points to be on this chat?
That's a good question.
Quality of your training. All right, I'm going to go with 3. Quality of your training. Make sure you're doing some variation of your compound movements and most of your sessions. And then 3, do stuff that you enjoy as well. Throw in stuff throughout the week that you enjoy, whether that's at the end of your sessions or as your lighter days. But I reckon those are a solid top 3.
Tom's top 3.
That was so close to mine. You were saying that, I was like, oh, I should have gone first here.
No pressure.
I'm going to go consistency to add to your quality.
Yeah.
So if you're doing quality training, if you're consistent at that, like getting your 3 sessions a week, make sure you sleep well, eat well, all that sort of stuff, you will see a difference. So consistency, expectation management, you've got to get that right. So when are you going to get results? How quick are those results going to come, and how your body's going to change? I think if you set the expectation well, you'll never be disappointed. And then last one, pretty similar to your one, enjoy the process. It's a long process, and I never think you actually get to the end result.
No.
For example, if your goal is to bench 160, sooner or later you're going to bench 160, and then that goal is going to go 180. So your goalpost is always going to change. So just learn to enjoy the process, enjoy it, be consistent, and like Tom said, get your quality in.
Yeah. I think that was six good points to finish off on there. For anyone listening who have got any questions for you or want to get involved with sort of your training, where can people find you? Where can people get in touch, in contact with you?
Steel Habitat.
Yeah, and type in Steel Habitat to Google and we'll pop up. So we've got Steel Habitat on the Instagram, on Facebook, and obviously website as well, steelhabitat.co.uk. Online programming is on there as well as obviously if you're around in Liverpool, the gym as well. And then you post a little bit on Instagram, do you? Do much sports
Not
stuff?
really.
We've got our Instagrams, but they're not really that important.
You
I post a little bit, but it's just me. Really.
I don't post.
No one's really that interested. But yeah, we've got our Instagrams and all that sort of stuff. So, but Steel Habitat is the main one. Yeah, if you're interested, get in contact.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me. It's always good to chat to you both. Thanks very much to everyone listening, and I will see you next week.